Let's start with MS Now contributor Inzamam Rashid, who's been working his diplomatic sources in Dubai. And at the White House for us, Jackie Alamany, co-host of The Weekend on MS Now. And we're also joined by Richard Stengel, MS Now political analyst and former Undersecretary of State. Jackie, President Trump is lashing out at these Iranian negotiators today. He's also lashing out at NATO allies. Is this diplomatic effort going the way they've planned?
Yeah, Anna, signs of diplomatic breakthrough are not appearing just yet. And as you noted, the 15-point proposal that was communicated to Iranian negotiators via diplomatic back channels in Pakistan has been rejected. Iran, at the same time, put forth a response asking for 5 different conditions, including ending acts of aggression, ensuring that the war will not reoccur, payments of reparations for damages that have been occurred during the course of this war, and sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, along with ending the war across any proxies. It's unclear what the U.S.'s position in response to this has been. And actually, the White House has even declined to confirm who exactly within the U.S. government is participating in these conversations. The Pakistani foreign minister did confirm today that despite a lot of the hardcore rhetoric, especially from Iran, claiming that they are not engaging negotiations at all, that there are diplomatic back channels that are taking place, being facilitated again through Pakistani mediators. But at the same time, I think it's hard to see a diplomatic breakthrough occurring right now, as Israel has essentially declared an all-out air assault on attacking as many of Iran's arms industries and facilities as possible in this week during this 5-day pause that President Trump has incurred. And as you noted at the top, there are a number, thousands of U.S. troops being deployed to the region, which also suggests that fighting could go on longer than the deadline of Friday that Trump has imposed.
Inzamam, where do things stand with Pakistan and these diplomatic back channels?
Well, Anna, look, they're still very much talking to the United States and Iran. As Jackie mentioned there, that there was confirmation today from the Pakistan foreign minister coming out and saying that in reality, US-Iran indirect talks are taking place through messages being relayed by Pakistan. He went on to say that Pakistan remains fully committed to promoting peace and continues to make every effort to ensure stability in the region and beyond. Dialogue and diplomacy is the only way forward. So Pakistan's very committed to being this communicator between the two countries. What it seems is that the US are clearly showing a sign that they want to try and negotiate, that they want to have discussions, at least publicly anyway. That's what they are showing by delivering this 15-point peace plan to Pakistan to give to the Iranians. And then in return, it seems, Iran wants to show public willingness as well. But behind the scenes, it seems that perhaps it's a little bit different. It seems that Iran may be a little bit difficult to actually come to the table and actually have discussions. But also you could put the same question mark on the US as well, because at the same time, we still see the Israeli-US onslaught inside of Iran. We still see plenty of fighting over the last 24, 48 hours, despite all of this diplomatic conversation that's been going on. And we know full well that there are still thousands of US troops heading to this part of the region. So what many people in this region are thinking, analysts particular, but also the Iranians, is actually Donald Trump just trying to buy some time so that he can get his troops in place, so that if there is some form of invasion towards Iran, that could happen. And all the meantime, this conversation around diplomacy is being had.
Richard, Iran rejected the U.S. proposal, that 15-point plan, as we discussed. It included restrictions on their missile program and proxy groups, rolling back their nuclear program, reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Iran, in turn, is demanding an end to the fighting, payment for war damages, a guarantee of no future attacks, sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Is there anything that you think on this wish list that is realistic? Do you see some pathway for diplomats?
Anna, the truth is we don't actually know any of that. The administration hasn't released its plan. The Iranians haven't released their plan. It's all incredibly opaque and seemingly deliberately. And what I would say, during wartime, a president has 2 responsibilities. He's commander-in-chief, He controls the military, but he's also explainer-in-chief. He has to explain to the American public why we are at war, why he's asking America's sons and daughters to go over there. He hasn't done that. He sees his role as something different, negotiator-in-chief, where it doesn't matter whether what you say is true or false, because it's all a negotiation. That's what's confusing about this, because he himself is muddling up everything. He's a one-man kind of communications agency, and he has no fidelity to the truth. He's saying things that are for the purpose of negotiation. So that's why this is all so in flux and so unclear.
Diplomacy is all about communication and messaging, right? Do you think his messaging is working in some way?
I don't. I don't think it's the job of the commander-in-chief to do anything other than exactly explain what we're doing and tell the facts and the truth of what's happening. When he says they want to make a deal, or we're doing this, and maybe we're sending soldiers there, he sees that as a tactic, like he's doing a real estate deal. That's not what the job is.
And so Politico is reporting his absurdly incoherent messaging on Iran, that's how they put it, has befuddled America's allies, basically left them in a holding pattern, and this is according to 4 European government officials. His latest screed about NATO likely is going to just add to the tension there. Richard, if you were advising Secretary Rubio or even the president right now, how would you get buy-in from allies? What would your advice be?
Well, it's a very good question. I think Secretary Rubio is trying to kind of tampen things down and say, look, this is rhetoric. It's part of the negotiation. We still want to have allies. But of course, this has just been dreadful for any alliances that we have. I mean, we're out there on our own. Trump has been effectively begging the allies to help open the Strait of Hormuz. They're reluctant to do that. I think this is, again, we've been talking about this for months, a kind of rupture in the old world order where the U.S. had a bunch of allies that we all work together. That isn't happening anymore.
Inzamam, Iran's foreign minister, said on state TV that Iran has not engaged in talks to end the war and, quote, we do not plan on any negotiations. Who in Iran actually has the authority to negotiate right now?
Well, that's a good question, given that the U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iranian officials continues. Today, even an IRGC commander was killed by Israeli strikes. That was in Bandar Abbas, which is the port town near to the Strait of Hormuz. This was the guy essentially in charge of blocking the Strait of Hormuz and taking it in Iran's control. So a very key figure, yet another top figure in the IRGC wiped out. But look, there are still some people there, like the foreign minister you mentioned, but also the parliamentary speaker as well. And actually, there are reports today that suggest that those two names, Abbas Araghchi and the parliamentary speaker, Mohammad Bakir Kalibaf, have actually been removed from the Israeli hit list after Pakistan specifically requested for their names to be removed, because Pakistan was saying, if you are going to have some form of negotiations, saying this directly to the US and Israel, then you can't wipe out these people. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to speak to anyone inside Iran, to have discussions, to have some form of de-escalation in this conflict. So look, those people are dwindling because Israel and US continue their strikes, but there are still some people there, and Pakistan are trying to encourage the US to ensure that those people still very much remain, so that diplomatic discussions can take place. Just a final point from me, Anna, and particularly on the point of allies, as you were just mentioning there. Here in the Gulf, we continue to see attacks every day, and they've increased over the last 24 hours. We've had alerts here in the UAE. 2 people have sadly died in Abu Dhabi after they were struck by shrapnel from a drone strike by Iran. We've seen attacks in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain and Qatar today once again. And the GCC have collectively come out today and said that they are angry and they are stepping closer to further potential self-defense mechanisms that could essentially mean one day attacking Iran. It feels like patience here is running thin.
Jackie, polls already show this was the most unpopular American war at its launch in modern history. President Trump has moved the goalposts several times, and now top Republicans on the Hill are calling out the White House for the lack of clarity about this war. I want you to listen to the chair of the House Armed Services Committee.
We just wanted them to tell us what's the plan, and we didn't get any answers. We're having these folks sent over here to basically tell us very little, and that's not okay. I want that to be very clear in whatever y'all write. This is not just about epic fury. This is a consistent pattern of tagging the base and saying we came over and briefed you, but they're not telling us things, substantive things.
Jackie, is there concern in the administration that Republican support for this war is at risk?
There doesn't appear to be concern just yet. Just remember, this White House is a White House that has weathered a number of critical cycles from Republicans who are generally Trump supporters and MAGA adherents, from tariffs to military operations in Venezuela to even Trump's DHS and ICE immigration enforcement operations. I think where this is different, though, where we could actually see Republican lawmakers moving to rein in the wide latitude that they've given Trump and the Pentagon to wage this war, is if the administration ultimately decides to put boots on the ground. And I think that is why you saw so much concern yesterday from Republican lawmakers privately inside of the room and outside when they came to talk to reporters after these two classified briefings that were provided to lawmakers in the House and the Senate. When it comes to the loss of life, you do not see lawmakers willing to put American troops on the ground. That seems to be their red line right now. They were frustrated at the lack of information with regards to these potential ground operations and also to the overall cost of the war. Just want to read you something quickly that Congresswoman Nancy Mace posted on social media after the briefing. She said, "We will not sacrifice American lives for the same failed foreign policies. The war machine may be willing to give the lives of your sons and daughters for the price of oil, but we are not."